Good morning, honorable members. Welcome to the
Recording in progress.
programming committee this morning, which indeed I hope we will be able to finish our program on time. It is set for an hour, 8:30 to 9:30. The apologies and all documents have been circulated to all members, and I'm sure that we've been able to go through them. I would like us to take any apologies, if any.
Madam Speaker, good morning. We've received two apologies, House Chairperson Froelich and House Chairperson Horn.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Klaso. Honorable Froelich is in Brazil and Honorable Horn is in Azerbaijan, both of them on parliamentary business. Honorable Tlangwini?
Morning, Speaker. Morning, colleagues. Please note the apology of the Chief Whip of the EFF.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nchumu's apology is noted. Is there any other apology that we need to take note of? If none, thank you very much, honorable members. Can I get the mover for the adoption of our agenda?
I move, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nkwankwa, for the mover. Can I get the seconder?
I second, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majosi. Can we now go to the committee section to get our presenter for the report? This
Madam
one,
Speaker, I would like
Natalia Bogat.
Madam Speaker, I would like to introduce, with your permission, Ms. Natalia Bochat. She joined committee section on the 1st of October. She's been in the legislative sector for the past 29 years. And we are happy to indicate that at last we have a permanent appointment in the committee section. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much and most welcome, Natalia Bochat. And welcome to a new position in this regard, and congratulations, and hope we'll be able to continue and be dedicated as you have been to the legislative sector and now to the committee section in order to support members on their core business. If you can please table your report on committee section.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker. Good morning, Honorable Members. Thank you so much for the word of welcome. If Mr. Mbanga could please share, he has disabled me to share the presentation. I would appreciate it, sir.
Mr. Mbanga, if you can please share the document from committee section.
I've handed over co-hosting rights, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mbanga. Thank you once again, Speaker, as Chair. Allow me to briefly take you through. I do understand that there's very limited time. The bills before National Assembly committees are as follows. There are 17 executive bills and 14 private members' bills, totaling 31. We do not have any other matters before committees. 11 statutory appointments will be referred to in this presentation and 12 petitions. In terms of the first bill, the Performing Animals Protection Bill, the consideration and briefing by the Department's Legal Services as well as Parliament's Legal Services took place on the 21st of October, and the next meeting will be the motion of desirability, and that meeting is still to be confirmed. In terms of all the COCTA bills, we do not have an aim to finish date due to the fact that the committee is currently in Denmark, and they are also prioritizing their hearings on the functions to be followed up. The committee has written to various committees, various provinces and other stakeholders for submission with a closing date of 7th of November. So that goes for all of the COCTA bills. Then when we move to the PC on Health with the Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery Systems Bill, there was a briefing by the Content Advisor on the 29th of October. Responses are scheduled to close today, the 30th of October, and deliberations are set for those various dates in November, with the consideration and adoption of the bill scheduled for 28th of November. The marriage bill is currently the committee is currently undertaking public hearings for the marriage bill with religious and traditional leaders as well as members of the LGBTQIA community, and that will conclude round about the 13th of November. For the Electoral Commission's bill, the briefing by the Deputy Speaker will take place on the 18th of November. The one-stop border post bill has been concluded, and the second reading is scheduled for the 4th of November, 2025. The Protection of State Information bill is set to be finished or finalized by the first quarter in 2026, as well as the Constitution 19th Amendment bill. Moving to the Constitution 20th Amendment bill, also set to finish at the first quarter of 2026. The Liquor Amendment bill set to be concluded by March 2026. So to the Constitution 21st Amendment bill. Then we had a new bill introduced this week on the 27th of October. It is an executive bill, and it is the South African Judicial Education Institute Amendment Bill. This bill is a Section 75 bill and is still to be scheduled by the committee. The RICA bill is set to finish in the first quarter of 2026. The Judicial Matters Amendment Bill, public hearings will take place in January, and the aim to finish there is also quarter 1, 2026. The General Family Laws Amendment Bill, the briefing took place on the 15th of October, and the bill has also been published for public comments. The Merchant Shipping Bill, as well as the repeal of Airways Bill, there is a little bit of uncertainty surrounding these bills because the Cabinet has taken a decision to withdraw the bill. The National State Enterprises Bill, on the 3rd of December, the consideration of motion of desirability will take place. Moving to the Prevention of Illegal Eviction from Unlawful Occupation and Land Amendment Bill, the 22nd of October, there was a briefing by the Content Advisor on the written submissions received and the consideration of the motion of desirability. The aim to finish there is the end of November 2025. The Insourcing Bill, the briefing by the department took place yesterday on the 29th of October. Aim to finish is the first term 2026. The Water Services Amendment Bill is not scheduled yet, and the aim to finish is the second term 2026. The Special Appropriations Bill, the briefing by the National Treasury is due to take place on the 26th of November, and hopefully consideration in the House will be around about the 13th of January. Parliament and Provincial Medical Aid Scheme Bill. The committee is still due to schedule this bill, and it is set to be concluded at the end of the first term, 2026. The Constitution 22nd Amendment Bill has not been scheduled by the committee yet. Moving on to statutory appointments and other matters before committees. For the Deputy Public Protector, the committee needs to consider the report recommending the appointment of a Deputy Public Protector on the 30th of October, which is today. The Human Rights Commissioner, there was a process previously related to the appointment of a Human Rights Commissioner, but the Portfolio Committee will restart the process to fill the vacancy, and as soon as a new schedule is available, those dates will be shared with the Programming Committee. For the Equality Review Committee, the nomination for the appointment for a member of the Equality Review Committee was on the 15th of October, and the report was also adopted on that date. Moving on to the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, the appointments onto that board, onto that council on the 5th of October, adverts were published in various national and regional newspapers, and the closing date for submissions is the 7th of November 2025. In terms of the appointment of members of the Critical Infrastructure Council, the first one there is the appointment and the interviews of shortlisted candidates for appointment as members of the Aviation Safety Investigation Board. The interviews are scheduled for 7th and 8th of November, and those are provisional dates. Then there was also a request from the Minister of Transport to initiate the recruitment of candidates for the appointment to the Transport Economic Council, and the briefing was scheduled for the 21st of October. That took place, and the shortlisting of candidates is subsequently scheduled for the 7th of November, also being a provisional date. Then there was also an injunction by the Constitutional Court on the appointment related to the Commission for Gender Equality, so that process will be starting afresh. Advertisements will run on the parliamentary website and print media from the 1st of December to 23 January 2026. Thereafter, the shortlisting will take place on the 24th of February, and public comments published on the website will be from the 27th of February to the 10th of April to provide sufficient time for comments there too. Then, in terms of the filling of 3 vacancies in the Electoral Commission, the National Assembly consideration of the recommendation to fill the positions was duly tabled on the announcements tabling and committee report on the 22nd of October. It was approved in the House on the 28th of October, and the next step is then the appointment by the President. Other matters is that the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities are currently engaging in oversight, not necessarily oversight, but more actually stakeholder engagement. So they are undertaking processes to review legislation if necessary, and the specific focus is statutory rape of young girls. So they have embarked on the first leg of these stakeholder engagements. It is taking place in Gauteng and also in the Eastern Cape. So it is outlined in terms of the program there, and the aim to finish by the 30th of November with these stakeholder engagements on statutory rape of young girls. Moving on to the second last part of the presentation, it's petitions. The first one is related to the petition by Dr. P.J. Groenewald on behalf of Barend Johannes van Zyl. The briefing with the petitioner is scheduled for the 9th of December, concluding in March. The petition of Mr. G.A. Werner on behalf of the community for urgent securing of Withrow Dam. The briefing scheduled for Tuesday, the 4th of November, and the aim to finish date cannot be confirmed since it's a joint referral. The petition from C.A. Botha will be considered next year before the end of the financial year, as well as the petition of non-payments of stipends by Mr. Desto, by Desto Business and MAP SETA Learnership for persons with disabilities. The petition on upgrading of Slover Park informal settlement, there was a follow-up meeting with the petition in the city of Johannesburg, and that took place on the 17th of October, and it formed part of the committee's oversight visit to the Gauteng province, and the remarks there is that the community received a progress update on the implementation and the recommendations. The petitioner expressed appreciation for the committee's response, and another update is scheduled for the first term in 2026. Then the petition from the Amadiba community requesting the NA to investigate their concerns regarding the N2 Wild Coast Highway Tollway. The briefing was scheduled with the petitioner for 21 October. The remarks there is that SANRAL and the Department of Transport are scheduled to respond to the petition on the 4th of November, and the committee is expected to determine the possible date for the oversight visit in the area. And this matter is estimated to be settled mid-year 2026. The petition from Ms. M. Clark calling for urgent implementation on action plan to address illegal mining. The joint briefing took place on 17th of September, and the committee is resolved to convene another meeting to consider the draft report on the petition. That date is not confirmed yet. The petition from Mr. M.J. Cuthbert, the proposed oversight based on Cuthbert's petition, will take place tomorrow on the 31st of October. Then, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Speaker, and members, there was also a call for committees to revitalize and speak to issues relating to state capture and to prioritize these issues once again. So in terms of these issues, we do not have substantial information to report as we are just restarting the process, but the recommendations are, we have captured progress made in terms of recommendation. The first recommendation relating to a criminal probe into a suspicious tender awarded to Scarlet Sky Investments, and that on the 11th of October 2025, the committee is scheduled to be briefed by the Special Investigations Unit. The findings of the inquiry were that all the business possessions of the requisite licenses as per the Charter 4 of the Diamonds Act, the SADPMR, therefore ended its part on the Zondo Commission's recommendations, and all matters from here on were left to the SIU. Then the next recommendation is related to the recovery of proceeds of crime, and this is under the auspices of the SCOPA committee. On the 18th of June, that committee received briefings from various law enforcement agencies, and the committee monitors the progress as well as the status on these matters. Another recommendation that is being looked at by SCOPA is the further strengthening of anti-corruption capabilities. The investigation directorate will be established as per the permanent entity within the NPA. The committee receives quarterly updates from law enforcement agencies. The last one, however, was on the 18th of June. So there is a need to also revitalize and restart in terms of this. Interactions between national and executive parliament. This is something that resorts under the Joint Standing Committee on Financial Management. The activity there is that National Treasury will engage with Parliament to determine the most appropriate way to give effect to the Commission's recommendations on the resourcing of Parliament, specifically with respect to its capacity to hold the executive to account. The status there is that Parliament, in conjunction with the FFC, is in a process of developing a funding model which will address a funding gap in Parliament. The Portfolio Committee on Police, the activity was that on the 5th of March and respectively on the 21st of May. That was the last time that that portfolio engaged with matters relating to state capture. On the 5th of March, there were discussions on the findings made on the state capture report related to subs crime intelligence, and briefing by subs on the 21st of May to the committee. Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you, honorable members. That brings us to the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for the presentation. Can we now take the bills report before we can go for discussion?
Good morning, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. After my presentation, Honorable Speaker, with your permission, I will also request that my colleague, Advocate van der Merwe, give a presentation on constitutional court deadlines. So currently, we concur that there are 31 bills that are before portfolio committees. So our report will start from slide number 3. On slide number 3, we've just indicated the bills that were recently introduced. Honorable Speaker, I'm not gonna read them because Ms. Bochat has already reported on them, but I will just indicate that number 16, which is Water Services Amendment Bill B24 of 2025, a proposed section 76, was introduced and published in the ATC on the 3rd and referred to the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation. This bill is one of the priority bills that were on the legislative list of this year. Let's move to slide number 4. On slide number 4, I've indicated the 2 new private members' bills that were introduced, and she has already reported on them as well. So we've indicated them that were recently introduced, one on the 29th of September and the other one on the 9th of October. Can we move to slide number 5, please? On slide number 5, we are also indicating that the one-stop border post bill, the committee has reported on that bill with amendments. So the bill is on the order paper for consideration. So the bill number is now B12B of 2024. Slide number 7, please. On slide number 7, Honorable Speaker, we are giving the committee information that 3 bills on the NCOP order paper were reported on. So the Public Service Amendment Bill was reported with amendments. So it's now B13D of 2023. So, and the Public Administration Amendment Bill was reported without amendments. So the reports were published in the ATC of the 27th of October. B13D, which is Public Service Amendment Bill, it will be referred back to the Portfolio Committee on Administration for the committee to consider the NCOP amendments. The next reporting slide is slide number 8. On slide number 8, Honorable Speaker, there's a new draft bill before Parliament that has been submitted by the Department of Employment and Labour. Is the Employment Services Amendment Bill, a proposed Section 75 bill. So the bill's office is currently processing and preparing the bill for introduction as soon as possible. Slide number 9. On slide number 9, we are reporting on the Revenue Laws Amendment Bill, B5 of 2025. This bill was passed by the NCOP yesterday and accordingly published in the ATC. So the Act forms are to be submitted to the President for assent as proposed, as a proposed Act 6 of 2025. And the second language of this bill is Afrikaans. The last reporting slide is slide number 10. So, sorry, slide number 11. Thank you. On slide number 11, we are saying out of the 10 priority bills to be introduced this year, 5 have been introduced so far with the recent introduction of the Water Services Amendment Bill, as reported earlier. Thank you so much. Over to you, Advocate van der Merwe.
Thank you very much, Advocate van der Merwe.
Thank you. Good morning, Speaker. Good morning to the members. We report on Constitutional Court judgments. I just want to remind members that there was also a report circulated, which contains all the matters where there are Constitutional Court deadlines. I'm just going to give feedback to the members on those matters where there will be a gap on the law and the progress. There's one new matter where there will be a gap in the law. That is the matter of Van Wyk and others. It deals with parental leave and unemployment benefits, where the court found that not...
Honorable Reddy, can you please mute?
No. Thanks.
Honorable Reddy, we don't want to hear your stories. Please mute.
Sorry, Speaker.
Mute.
Thank you, Speaker. So the new matter deals with two acts, the Basic Conditions of Employment and Unemployment Insurance, but they both deal with parental leave. The date that the order lapses is 2 October 2028. So we've already submitted a legal opinion to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for consideration so that we can see what would be the correct way to proceed on this matter. If we can go to the next slide. This now deals with two matters where I'm reporting on progress. So the first one is the matter of O'Brien, and it deals also with two acts, the Military Discipline Supplementary Measures Act and the Defence Act. And the department, in fact, the committee met with the department to discuss the way forward, and the department has confirmed that they are actually, it seems, at quite a late stage in the process to introduce. The suspension of the order does lapse 19 December 2026, and the committee requested that in order for Parliament to be able to process the bill, it must be introduced November or December 2025. So the department's feedback is that they have already started discussions for pre-certification with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, the Socio-Economic Impact Assessment Certificate as well. They're in discussions with that with the department in the presidency. It was presented to the GG's cluster in August 2025, and a cabinet statement confirmed, in fact, now very recently this month, that there is approval for submission of both bills to Parliament. The department did, however, also indicate to us that as a precautionary measure, they are looking at a possible extension of the suspension of the order. I suppose that will depend on whether they are able to introduce by November or December. The last matter that I want to report on is that of EB versus ER, dealing with the Divorce Act. Already there is a bill before the Portfolio Committee on Justice, the General Family Laws Amendment Bill. And the department approached the Constitutional Court for an extension of the suspension of the order, and the court granted an 18-month suspension. So now the order only lapses 8 April 2027. I am aware that the Portfolio Committee on Justice has already done a call for comments, so the process of deliberations on that bill has commenced. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. We now open for discussion. The first member who had made a request earlier on, and I said I'll come back, is Honorable Ntlangwini, followed by Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Speaker. I think that was a legacy end, but nevertheless, Speaker, since you have given me the opportunity, I just want to check, Speaker, how do we keep a track with especially some of the motions that get passed through Parliament, and it's currently, and I'm pointing out to the motion of the EFF specifically, that we brought to the House on the closing of the Israel embassy, and it's still sitting with the president. How do we keep track and fast tracking some decision making surrounding that? Because we must develop or remind the president that we don't report to him as Parliament, but it is the other way around. I think there is some conflict in terms of that, though we do respect him as the president of the country, but I think some decisions have dire consequences, and we need faster action on his behalf as the number one of the country. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning to the colleagues, and thank you for the presentations. My first question is to Advocate van der Merwe relating to the Van Wyk decision. Now, that relates to a private member's bill that was brought by ACDP MP Honourable Sherilyn Dudley, and that was passed through the House. My question is, does the given that it was a private member's bill, does the promoter of that bill play any role in the act that has been now passed and the further input? I appreciate that it does lie with the department, but I just wanted guidance in that regard, because I think this is the first time that this has occurred where a private member's bill that was passed was considered by the Constitutional Court. Chair, Speaker, my second issue relates to the report on the State Capture Commission, and there was a reference to an NPA bill which referred to establishing the investigating directorate as an entity within the NPA. And I'd like clarity. We don't necessarily need it today, but my understanding was that bill was already passed. Could we get clarity on that? Or it could be that there's a further bill that is envisaged just to bring greater clarity, but the investigating directorate is established within the NPA. And then, Speaker, lastly, the reference to the public hearings on the marriage bill. This is a very contentious bill, and I think it's not correct. And whilst I welcome the new member of staff, I think it's not correct to say public hearings are limited to traditional leaders and members of the LGBT community. I think it might be an incorrect reference there. The public hearings, such as the one that took place yesterday in Khayelitsha, are obviously open to all members of the public, including traditional leaders and members of the LGBT. Maybe we can just get clarity in that regard. Thank you so much, Speaker. Appreciate the input.
Thank you, Honorable Gwangwa.
Speaker, my question, although it relates to bills, deals with a slightly different aspect. The question I want to ask is, since our legislative program is executive dominated, meaning it's mostly the executive that introduce new bills, there are cost implications when one goes through the entire cycle of making laws, especially when you get to the point of public hearings. I want to know, for example, there was as you might be aware, Speaker, there was a gas amendment bill, public hearings, I think it was done by the Energy Committee. Public hearings were done, I think, 2 per region in each and every single province, which cost more than 6 million rands. And later on, that bill was just withdrawn by the executive. The question I want to ask, in instances such as that, where we have incurred costs as Parliament, and then say the executive willy-nilly withdraws a bill, who carries the burden for the financial expense? Parliament. Because if it's like that, then it's wrong. It should, in my view, and in our view, that in an instance where a bill is withdrawn, say willy-nilly, and then Parliament had already incurred costs for that, the cost center for that expense, or we should take steps to recover those expenses from the department concerned. Otherwise, if you look at the program of Parliament, you might go through a number of steps, incur costs, and then for some reason the bill is withdrawn. But who pays for that? It should not be Parliament. It should be the arm of government that sponsored or initiated the process, so that we don't bear the brunt financially for their ill-timed decisions. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Reddy.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you so much. Speaker, the first point I want to raise, and I think this is very important, it's a question of establishing a WhatsApp group with all the programming whips. The purpose for this, I think it will make things so much easier. Much of what we want to raise can be discussed on the WhatsApp. If we could do that even today, it's a simple thing. If members can't do it, I can take that responsibility of setting up this WhatsApp group. The second issue is that I did request at a previous programming committee meeting for a schedule, a table of all outstanding motions, bills that have been submitted by members. Where are these? A progress report on everyone. We can design a template that gives you the motion, the party, the date it was submitted, and where it is sitting in the system. I think that will answer answer the type of question that was raised by even the honorable from the EFF. Speaker, the next point, it's regarding the program for the 4th term. Now, it is important that we need to finalize.
Honorable Reddy, can you please hold on your issue on the program, because it's still going to be tabled.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Then I'm done. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we get a response on the issues that have been raised by members, particularly with respect to legislation and also motions and progress where they are? Honorable Paso.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the issue of motions, the list was circulated to honorable members already, and we were happy to engage Honorable Reddy if he requires further information on the matter, but we did make the list available. Regarding a WhatsApp group, there is a WhatsApp group of whips, and there's also a Chief Whips Forum that meets before the NAPC. So we would suggest that perhaps we utilize the same WhatsApp group that is used by the whippery, obviously with the permission of the chair of the Chief Whips Forum, but also the Chief Whips Forum is meant to do exactly that, to deal with issues before they get to the program committee. And perhaps we should utilize that structure more on those issues. The program gets presented at the Chief Whips Forum, and that is where there should be interaction on the issues that require interaction. Madam Speaker, on state capture, we will provide a report, that progress report that we did previously on WEMET, because there's a lot of recommendations that came out of the state capture process, and the progress report that we did towards the end of last year. And we'll also just double check the issues that were raised by Honorable Swart. But a lot of work has been done by Parliament. A lot of bills have been processed, especially by the Justice Committee, including the the bill to deal with intelligence, which was processed by Parliament. So we'll provide that report to honourable members. Regarding motions, Madam Speaker and honourable members, the motion on the Israeli embassy has been followed up by the honourable Speaker. She has written to the Minister of IR, and if I recall well, but we'll check this. The latest was that the executive will update Parliament in due course. But this matter has also been discussed during question time in the House. But we'll get the latest information on that. Generally, on House resolutions, which emanate from committee reports, there is a letter that goes out to the executive at the point a report is passed by the House, and then there are follow-ups, timelines, 45 days, and another follow-up that is done on those resolutions. It's not a perfect process. We're trying to improve it. The response rate is still relatively low, and that's a matter that has also found expression in the annual performance plan of Parliament to strengthen the processes. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. There was a specific response on the legislation issue, particularly of private members' bill. I'm not sure whether the yes, Honourable Ms. van der Merwe.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes. So in respect of the Van Wyk matter, yes, it did relate to a private member's bill, but what the court found was that the bill did in fact not go far enough. So the court was saying it should go much broader. So in other words, it's a policy aspect, and it is not necessarily something where the member will have to come back because it was their bill that was seen as not going far enough. It will be like any other legislative process. It is something that can be addressed by way of an executive bill. A member could come forward and say, well, I would like to broaden the bill that was there, and we can introduce a private member's bill. It could be a committee bill. There are many ways of dealing with it. And of course, regardless of which way that judgment is addressed, whether executive, private or committee bill, any person will be able to make inputs in the bill that is being considered by Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to come to the issue of Honourable Nkwankwa in respect of who bear the cost, I think the proposal you're making is a matter that might need to be discussed in the structures of Parliament and also engaging the executive, because it's a matter that had never been addressed before in terms of who bears the cost if a bill has to be withdrawn while already there had been processes of dealing with the bill in Parliament. So one cannot be conclusive at the moment to even say it must be borne by who, but it's a matter that I take it will require a discussion within our own structures in Parliament and then engage the executive. The issue of Honorable Reddy, I think, has been dealt with by Mr. Kaso about the WhatsApp group on the programming. We can't add it because actually the responsibility of the Chief Whips Forum is to deal precisely with the program. So by the time the program comes on the programming committee, that's why the programming committee actually is an hour in terms of what we should take to process it, because it is accepted that chief whips of all parties would have made comments on the program and been consulted and reflected on that issue before it comes on the programming committee. So I don't think we need a second WhatsApp group to deal with that matter. Chief whips must deal with the programming in there. And I think within parties, we need to make sure that inputs from parties through their chief whip is actually undertaken. We will continue to follow up, as it has been indicated by Mr. Kaso, on the issues of motions and decisions that get taken by Parliament and to the executive. And I guess some of the issues with relates to our rules on how we deal with matters where it might be beyond the timeline that the executive has actually not responded to issues that have been raised. Thank you very much, honourable members, for that.
Sorry, Speaker.
I am seeing you, Honourable Reddy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Speaker,
members, for the comments that you have been raised on these matters and the responses received. Honourable Reddy, yes. What is the matter now?
Okay, I think Honourable Kaso is now relegating the programming committee to just an irrelevant committee. Maybe there's no need for this committee to even meet. If everything that we're discussing here is already, let me finish, Speaker, Honourable Speaker, please. Then if there's a way forward, I suggest programming whips who are not whips, that they be included on that whippery WhatsApp group. I make that humble request, if that's possible. The next one, he then makes a statement that it's already been provided a list of all outstanding motions. No, I think it should remain as an outstanding matter on our agenda, that every time, and this must be updated every time we meet. An outstanding report that says these are the motions that's in the system and this is where it is. As long as we have that, as members here, we are able to keep track of every motion, where the delays are, etc. And this must also include submissions of private member bills. There are a number of private member bills. For example, I've submitted private member bills. I haven't seen it anywhere. It's stuck in the system. So if it's there, if it's already populated in a template, we are able to keep track of this in the meetings, Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
Honourable Reddy, I will consider the matters and I will come back to this meeting to indicate how we move with some of these things going forward, because we also don't have to create a number of administrative burdens for ourselves. The issue of how consultations on the programming is done, I would actually say that matter will raise it with the Chief Whips Forum, because I don't think, as the programming committee, without consultation with the Chief Whips Forum, we must now alter the way things that have been, the way we have dealt with the programming. We note your concern, but we must raise it with the Chief Whips Forum so that they can find the best way in which those programming whips in the various parties make input in the program before it comes on the programming committee. Honourable Nkwankwa?
Aye, Speaker, I think we are Mlungsel, Honourable Reddy. The matters he's talking about are dealt with extensively in the Chief Whips Forum. If they are not happy about how that structure is functioning or the agenda issues that are tabled, the items rather, that serve before that committee, then MK as a party should actually propose agenda items for that structure to consider, deal with, so that by the time we come to programming, we've already consulted each other as political parties. I don't have an issue with other matters that is proposing, but I don't think the duplication of structures and whatnot would help us to a great deal. We must address the effectiveness of existing ones if we're not happy with how the Chief Whips Forum is dealing with matters, or whether the Chief Whips Forum is not dealing with some of the issues which end up serving in the programming committee, if that's what he believes. I think that is a discussion which should take place there. And then we sort ourselves there and come back here knowing exactly where we stand on some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, can we now consider the parliamentary program, noting the time that we have remaining? As I indicated, this program has been circulated to all the members. I will ask the programming whip maybe just to flag important issues. Otherwise, all members have read the program. Honorable Dagmo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Greetings to colleagues. Yes, in addition to the program having been circulated as part of this agenda, it was discussed in the Chief Whips Forum yesterday. I think the only issue, and also in the context of time, to report to the program committee for some brief reflection is the fact that at the meeting of the Chief Whips, you would, if we could go right to the end, to the 9th, I think it is, of December, you would see that at the moment we still have a session there scheduled for Tuesday the 9th. And at the Chief Whips Forum yesterday, there was discussion and there was actually support for moving this date to the 4th or the 5th of December. I think the one issue, Speaker and colleagues, that we need to do, and I'm actually, as programming, we're busy setting up a discussion with the chair of the finance committee, is, to just look at the implications, of that, of taking that session from Tuesday the 9th and then moving it to the 4th or the 5th. So that is something that I want to report was broadly supported, but you will see that in the program it remains there at the moment on the 9th. And then, maybe just to go into the new year, just so that members can we can all get our heads around that. Given the fact that we're trying to conclude by the 4th and the 5th of December, and that's a work in progress. We have noted and agreed that we would need to come back on the 13th of January for a hybrid session to deal with those issues there around the special appropriation bill adjustments, etc. So all I really want to say for the purpose of this report is that hopefully when we meet again next week, and it would have been discussed again at the Chief Whips Forum to get political consensus amongst the parties. As I said, there was support for it, is to engage the Finance Committee so that we're able to take the matter from the 9th and bring it to the 4th or the 5th. So, Speaker, that's all I really want to raise. Everything is there in the program. We know what's happening today. We have the Deputy President. I don't want to go into further details. Thanks.
No, thank you very much, Programming Whip. And I hope all of us have taken that into consideration. The issue of the discussion of the 9th between yourself and the chair, as well as the whip of the Finance Committee, must also take into consideration the timelines in terms of the Money Bills Act, so that we are not found wanting in that respect. That's just one issue I would caution that we need to look at. Are there any, Honorable Reddy, you wanted to say something on the 4th term program, which has now been tabled?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. With regards to the program, now, from what I understand, the Chief Whips meet on a Wednesday, where the program is initially discussed. And then it will be expected then that the chief whips will then raise the program with their programming whips so that parties can then prepare for the week ahead. Now, if you look at last week, there were 3 issues that could have been avoided that actually disrupted the whole program of Parliament. Now, understand what this means. It means that as the programming whip, I've got to have a program ready for my caucus, identify members that should be in the House. Maybe other parties are not doing it this way. That's why it's empty. I find more empty seats in the chamber than there are actually members. Maybe it's because of this, and we need to get this right. The first thing is you have scheduled on the program the issue of the commissioners of the IEC, knowing fully well that the term of office ends before the We have 2 BRRR reports from committees that are on oversight visit. One is overseas, one is here. And then I get a response like, well, it's only a 2-minute speech that's required. We cannot relegate Parliament to just a sort of a show. So, Speaker, let me conclude. Please.
No. Can I just ask you to come to the point? I hear the background.
Okay. The point.
Understand what is the.
Yes. The point I'm making is that I get the feeling that departments are not talking to each other. So I want to appeal to whoever is responsible from the official side in determining a program, because this is not the fault of the programming work or anything like that. From the official's perspective, that they need to be talking to the various PCs before they finalize a program that is submitted to the Chief Whips Forum. And this can happen. Maybe they need to be on the same WhatsApp group. They seem to be in different WhatsApp groups at the moment. Speaker, this is Parliament. For Pete's sake, it's not a small spaza shop operation. It is Parliament where we need to fine-tune.
Can you please be conscious of time for all of us? You have given the background.
I've made my point, Chair. I've made my point, Honourable Speaker.
Yes, really, this issue goes back to what Honourable Nkwankwa was raising. I think within the party, just try a way of coordinating between your chief whip and you as a programming committee and how those matters are dealt with. We are not going to be able to address inter-party issues and how you deal with your programs. But secondly, the committee section working with the portfolio committees, these programs that come on what must be in the agenda arise out of that program. So it's not like the committee section will just determine and ask certain matters to be tabled. So I do think that we need to address some of these matters. They don't need a WhatsApp group. The challenge is something that we need to work and improve in the functionality, because when committees know that they've said their matters must be tabled, they need to make sure that their portfolio committee members and members from their respective parties are in the House for those debates. Honorable Data.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Speaker, there's just one issue that I would like to raise in the program. We have, as parties, have an understanding that when it comes to mini plenary topics, we need to send those topics a week before, or at least a Friday before the following week in which the topics need to be discussed. Now, we find ourselves in a dilemma, in fact, in an issue, where a topic from the MK party was submitted by Honorable Litchfield Shabalala last week Friday around imposing visa restrictions or requirements to Western states. And then we get a completely different topic on the agenda or the program yesterday, whereas we've already prepared our teams to speak on those particular topics. We as parties give courtesy to other parties to get topics a week before as agreed. And this thing of changing topics willy-nilly as if it disorganizes literally completely unacceptable, and it puts us in a difficult situation where we prepare for the program of the week and a program is changed 2 days before people need to debate. So I just think that we need to deal with this, Speaker, and have a very strict convention as it may be, and if needs be, put that thing in the rules, because we can't have a situation where our members are prepared to debate on a mini plenary topic and then it's changed willy-nilly. And I think that's just a big problem for us, because the topic for the MK has now changed from what was submitted on Friday last week to what was submitted to us yesterday. That needs to be debated tomorrow. So I just need that to be addressed. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you. I think the matters will need to be dealt with, Honorable Kaso, to make sure that parties do comply with the timelines that are given, which all of us had agreed to. But thank you very much, Honorable Nodata, for raising that matter. And I think for all of us, we need to take consideration of that. Now we move to the consideration of minutes of 19 September 2025. Minutes have been circulated to all members. Can I get comments if there are any corrections that we need to take note of on those minutes? I don't see any hand. Can I get the mover of the minutes as a correct record? Honorable Cameron moves. Can I get the seconder?
I second, Chair. I second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kaso, are there any matters arising from those minutes?
Speaker, yes, ma'am. There's one matter. We're asked to provide information on vacancies in Parliament, and we have done that. We've circulated the document, not for discussion, but for the information of members. Of course, these are matters that are within the jurisdiction of the Joint Standing Committee on the financial management of Parliament, but we have provided the information. That the info is not on acting appointments, it is on vacancies, as it was said in the meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Are there any other matters arising that are in the minutes, except the one that Mr. Klasso has tabled? None. Thank you very much, members. This brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Speaker. Thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Recording stopped.